Captain Hayes, a grizzled sea dog. He knew the sea like the back of his hand. 40 years he'd sailed, weathered storms that would make the bravest sailor weep. He'd faced down krakens and sirens, but nothing could prepare him for the curse of Black Anchor's rum.
Hayes was a man of simple pleasures. The salt spray on his face, the creak of his ship, the sea serpent beneath his boots, and a good stiff drink at the end of a long day. He loved nothing more than to dock at some forgotten port. He would find a tavern, its windows glowing like a beacon in the night.
One night he found himself in just such a tavern. It was tucked away on a mist-shrouded island. The air was thick with the smell of salt and something else, something ancient and unsettling. The tavern was called the Drunken Kraken. A fitting name, Hayes thought, as he pushed open the creaking door and stepped inside. The warmth of the tavern washed over him. He smelled stale ale and something else he couldn't place. It was like the musty scent of an old crypt. The only light came from a crackling fireplace and a few flickering oil lamps. The shadows danced in the dim light, twisting familiar shapes into something monstrous. A hunched figure stood behind the bar, wiping down a mug with a rag. His face was hidden in the shadows.
What'll it be, Captain?
Rum, the strongest you've got.
The bartender chuckled, a dry, rattling sound.
Strongest, eh? We got something special for you, Captain. A little something called Black Anchor's Reserve. But I'm warning you, it ain't for the faint of heart.
Whispers of Black Anchor. Hayes had heard them before. Sailors' tales whispered in hushed tones. Black Anchor, the pirate captain who sold his soul for immortality. He was cursed by a sea witch to live forever, trapped within a bottle of his own cursed rum. Legend had it that whoever drank from the bottle would inherit Black Anchor's curse. They would be doomed to sail the seas for eternity as a ghostly apparition. Hayes scoffed. Sailors' tales. He didn't believe a word of it. He was a man of logic, not superstition.
Black Anchor's Reserve, you say? Let's see what this legend's all about.
The bartender hesitated, his hand hovering over a dusty bottle on the shelf. The bottle was made of dark glass. It was almost black. Inside, a thick, viscous liquid sloshed around. A skull and crossbones were crudely etched into the glass.
Last chance to change your mind, Captain. This here rum, it ain't to be trifled with.
Trifled with? I've stared down storms that would make you soil yourself, old man. A little rum doesn't scare me.
The bartender shrugged and poured the rum into a glass. The liquid was the color of blood. It shimmered strangely in the dim light. A pungent aroma filled the air. It smelled of seawater, spices, and something else. Something rotten. Section 4, A Taste of Damnation.
Hayes grabbed the glass. He brought it to his lips. He took a long, slow sip. The rum burned like fire in his throat. It sent a jolt through his body. He slammed the glass down on the bar, wiping his mouth with the back of his hand. Strong stuff, he rasped, but I've had worse.
He paid for the drink and stumbled out of the tavern. The fog had rolled in. It was thick as cotton, making it impossible to see more than a few feet ahead. Hayes could feel the fog seeping into his clothes, his skin. It felt cold, clammy. He made his way back to the Sea Serpent. He stumbled up the gangplank and collapsed in his cabin. As he drifted off to sleep, he could have sworn he heard the faint echo of laughter. It seemed to be coming from the bottle of rum. He awoke to a pounding headache and a strange feeling in his gut. He couldn't place it. He felt cold. He looked down at his hands. They were pale, almost translucent. His reflection in the window was distorted, as if he were looking through a rippling sheet of water. Section 5. The Black Spot. Panic surged through him. He stumbled out of his cabin and onto the deck. The crew stared at him, their faces a mixture of horror and pity.
Captain, his first mate stammered, your face.
Hayes rushed to the side of the ship and looked into the water. His reflection stared back at him. His skin was deathly pale. His eyes glowed with an eerie green light, and on his right cheek, a black spot had appeared, the mark of Black Anchor's curse. The world around him dissolved into a swirling vortex of mist and shadows. He saw flashes of Black Anchor's life battles at sea, buried treasure, and the face of the sea witch, her eyes burning with hatred. The ship beneath his feet groaned and shuddered. The masts twisted and contorted into grotesque shapes. The sails billowed with an unseen wind. The crew screamed in terror as apparitions of long-dead pirates materialized on the deck, their faces contorted in eternal agony. Section 6. Adrift in Eternity. Hayes felt himself changing, his body becoming as insubstantial as the mist that swirled around him. He tried to speak, but no words came out. His voice was gone, stolen by the curse. The vision faded. The sea serpent was gone. Hayes was adrift in a sea of swirling mist. He was surrounded by the ghostly figures of Black Anchor's crew. Their eyes glowed with malevolent glee. He was trapped, doomed to sail the seas for eternity as a ghostly captain. His laughter echoed across the water, as cold and empty as the curse that bound him. Captain Hayes had become another victim of Black Anchor's rum, a cautionary tale whispered on the wind, a reminder that some legends are best left undisturbed.